Hello, everybody, old men and old women alike. Today is another recording of Old Men Running, and you're not seeing, your vision is not blurred. You actually see three old men today, and we have a special guest in the audience or in the studio, and that is Steve Bourne, client advisor from Hammer Nutrition.
Hi, Steve.
Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Friday.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
There it is. A little delayed applause. So, Steve and I have known each other for several years. As I've been you guys know, I've been taking Hammer for quite a while. I was introduced to Hammer products by 5 or 6 years ago on a trip to Whitefish. I went into a convenience store. I needed some gels. Actually, it was a sporting goods store, and they only had Hammer products, and I couldn't understand where was Goo and UCAN. Those are not in there. So, in the town of Whitefish, if you need a nutrition product, you're only going to you're only going to be able to get Hammer. So Brian, the owner, and Steve have done a great job of promoting Hammer Nutrition. They've been around for more than 30 years, 35 years, I think.
Yeah, I think it's we're in our 38th year.
Yeah.
Wow,
So it
that's
is.
incredible.
And I'll tell you something real quick.
Go ahead.
If you're not on the up and up, if you're trying to flim flam people, and if you're just trying to make a hard sell, you're not going to be around for 38 plus years and growing. I've been involved in the sports nutrition industry for 40 plus years, and I've seen my share of them come and go. And there's a reason why we've been around this long. We care about the athletes, we want to help them, and we're not going to rely on some fad just to make a buck. That's not even in our mindset. It's always about the athlete first.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel every time I place an order. From for being able to ask questions. When I did my first marathon 3 years ago, Steve and I have an email thread that's like 10 long of what I should take the week before, the day before. We talked about products that I should take during the run, the day before, and then the most important products that I think that I enjoy from Hammer are the recovery products.
Mm.
Because when you're done running, you're only done for that day or that workout. You want to be able to have that strength to go again.
And to make increases in your training volume and intensity without your body taking such a beating.
Yeah,
It's not necessary.
yeah. So Hammer covers it all from the pre-workout to the daily supplements, I believe, as well as the recovery products. When you become a Hammer customer, you're going to get this in the mail, and they're really good at sending out beautiful media. So this comes in the mail to me every couple months or quarter. This is the catalog. So in here you can see not only just beautiful graphics that they put in. It's like a real magazine. This is something that you go to the newsstand and pay $5-6 for, and this just shows up. I don't know how it always shows up in my mailbox like it's like perfect. The pages aren't bent. I mean, it came all the way from Montana, and it looks like you put it in my
Yeah.
mailbox yourself.
We also produce a magazine called Endurance News that we put out, I think, four
Yep.
times a year, and just lots of good articles, research, science, and athlete. Again, it's about the athletes, so we do talk, give a lot of athletes the podium in our magazine, as it
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
it's awesome the materials that you guys send out. I'll put one more plug for your material, The Secrets of Success. This is a magazine that is
Mm.
sent to you. This is how long ago was this created? You know?
Well, when I started nearly 24 years ago, Brian and I produced a book called The Endurance Athlete's Guide to Success. And it started as like something like 12 pages. And then we started jamming so much information into it, it became almost like a book. So Brian distilled down the pertinent information to this booklet called The Secrets of Success. And it's I mean, the keys to the kingdom are right there, man.
Yeah. We didn't when we started this podcast. I didn't know where this was. I didn't have this with me, but you notice how quickly I was able to just leave and go find it. So I always know where this is, and I refer to it often.
And we offer that and our catalog, our product usage manual as free PDFs that you can download from the Hammer Nutrition website. So hard copies, PDF free copies, we got it.
Yeah, yeah, I might have picked it up when I was at the headquarters. Personal note: my son lives in the same town or city. It's a town where headquarters of what of Hammer are is. Can't speak today,
It's
and
Friday.
yeah, I didn't start drinking yet. Yeah, if I had a beer here, I'd have a reason, but I didn't. I don't. So that I met Steve and Brian, and I was able to see the facility for myself, and just the great people, the great ordering system, the client advisors, and so there's a lot of good trust between me and Hammer, and Steve was able to agree to have us pick his brain and talk about how we can take care of ourselves when we're running and when we're training and when we're racing too. It's for race day as well. So Steve, I take a lot of the supplements, but rather than me talk about it, if I were to call you and say I was to call Hammer and say, oh, I'm an endurance athlete. Um, the things that I'm taking today are not helping. I'm always tired, or I don't feel refreshed during my runs. What kinds of questions would you ask the athlete on the phone to understand what they might need to help them perform better?
Well, I want to know what kind of training they're involved in, mileage and things like that, what kind of supplements or fuels that they're using during and especially afterward. I am such a huge proponent of recovery and the steps that we can do, primarily with a good quality recovery drink, additional supplementation as well, addressing the diet too. I'm zealous about recovery because I think out of all the things that we can do to be better athletes, it's all about recovery. Everything we do in our training, undeniably important, but the gains that we hope to make occur in the time in between our training sessions. So I want to make sure that the athlete understands that first and foremost, that we've got to start at the back end. We've got to work on recovery, and then we can talk about, okay, what are we using during exercise? Is it helping or hindering? Is the fuel you're using containing a lot of refined sugars like glucose, sucrose, and the worst thing you can put in your body, which is fructose, worst thing of all. Um, I want to look at their diet too and say, okay, are you consuming a lot of processed seed oils? Is your diet high in sodium? Are you consuming a lot of sugar? Um, and then I want to tell them also that while we always, always, always focus on diet first and foremost, nothing replaces that. We still can't get enough of the vitamins and minerals we need from what people consider a healthy diet. A balanced diet, it's a myth. In fact, I've seen research that suggests and shows actually, and from highly regarded researchers, nutritional scientists, that state that most people's diets do not provide enough of the nutrients needed to fend off a deficiency disease. I mean, forget about optimal health. We aren't consuming enough food or enough quality of food to get us at vitamin mineral amounts that will even prevent a deficiency disease. For example, if you consume 60 milligrams of vitamin C, you won't get scurvy, but that's all that's going to happen. So we need to look at the diet and prudent, not stupid, not
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous, but prudent supplementation. And I think those two things are extremely important. So and then I just want to talk about other nutrient needs that they may have, and we can, they don't need everything in the kitchen sink, but when I talk with athletes and I really get into what they're doing, we can customize a really good fueling and supplement program for them.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I recall the time that we first spoke, and I told you what I take, and I started using the products later in my years. So not 35 years ago when you first were creating these things. So about 5 or 6 years I've been using the Hammer products, and we talked about my daily supplements, and then what do I do afterwards? So do I, you don't, and we talk about recovery on this podcast all the time. Sam and I have a whole podcast on recovery, what we do when after we take our shoes off, from replacing all the electrolytes that we lost, getting protein in us.
Yep.
And a lot of those products I use are Hammer products themselves.
Yeah. And, again, recovery is so important that if you're not addressing that first and foremost, really none of the other stuff matters, So
Right.
the first thing I tell athletes is when you're finished with a workout, it's not over. I mean, technically, yeah, it's over. You're no longer running, riding your bike or whatever. You're done. But until you've put some food or fuel back in your body, and I mean right away,
Right.
I mean that has to be like the last part of your workout, even though it's technically not a workout thing. But refilling the tank with good quality carbs and protein when your body's like, hey, I'm on the fence. You just kind of put the wood to me here in the workout. And I can go either one of two ways. I can get stronger. I can rebuild the lean muscle tissue stronger. I can protect your immune system so it doesn't go in the tank. And I'll learn how to store more minutes of fuel in the muscles so that you'll not be on empty for tomorrow's workout. And as you consistently do that, I'll have more fuel in the tank ready to serve you come race day. And so that window of opportunity to refill your body with good quality carbs and fuel is a lot shorter, in my opinion, than some people say. I say strike while the iron is at its hottest. And it's at its hottest the minute you finish a workout. So I always tell athletes, look, before you get out of the sweaty clothes, before you take a shower, before you do your stretching, whatever, just get something in your system. Now, I use our product Recoverite. We make a vegan version of that as well. And I like that product mainly because it's got everything I need. It's got the highest quality carbs and protein, additional amounts of the amino acid glutamine for the immune system, and for antioxidant support. I mean, but the real reason I like it is because of its simplicity. When I finish a hard workout, my body says, okay, solid food, give me a couple hours, at least an hour before. I mean, you really wound me up pretty tightly. It's going to take a little while for me to uncoil. So, before we start thinking about solid food, I need some food or fuel, but it's got to be very easy to digest. And so that's part of recovery. Second thing is, I want to get on with my day. I want to get out of the dirty clothes. I want to get into the shower. I want to rest up. So I want to get that recovery process started right away. So the convenience factor is a big thing for me. I drop a couple of scoops of Recoverite in my water bottle, shake it up, I drink it down, I'm done. I've given my body what it needs. It's in a form that's just ridiculously easy for the body to assimilate, and it took no time at all. And a lot of times I'm just too damn lazy to make a decent solid food meal. I don't want to sit at the kitchen table or wherever, in my sweaty clothes. I want to get it done quickly. And so Recoverite does that right away. Additional things that I like to do is whether it's food or supplements, I want to get some antioxidants in my body. We athletes produce something in the realm of 12 to 20 something times more cell damaging free radicals than sedentary people do. So while the benefits of exercise always outweigh just living a sedentary lifestyle, we do need to address the fact that we are creating through energy production a lot more free radicals than a sedentary person does. So we make a couple of excellent antioxidant rich supplements. I always think that taking my multivitamin, we make a product called Premium Insurance Caps. I take a good dose of that after my workout, which is when, I think my body really will benefit from having those nutrients in there. So that's step number one. Let's take care of recovery.
Yeah, that's perfect. It, it's kind of, I hate to say this phrase, you're preaching to the choir, but that's why I have you on here. Sam does it.
Absolutely.
Sam also, Sam and I talk about our recovery plans all the time, and Sam is coming along. He stops drinking a shot of whiskey after his workout. And,
Well, like we said before we got on the air, when we were in our 20s, we could do that.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, we could rage all night long and come back the next day and kill it in our training. You hit
absolutely.
your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, and I'll be 66 this year.
Right.
I can't get away with that. No way.
Not
You
no
know,
more. That's when
nuh-uh.
reality hits you.
And that's when you better start saying, okay, I've got to look at my training plan to make sure it's sensible and that I've built in some recovery days or days off. And that's, again, when you just need to address recovery. Just
Yeah.
out of all the things that we can do to be better athletes, that's number one by far.
All right, so you mentioned Recoverite, and we're going to list all of the products that Steve mentions. And guys, follow me on Instagram; they have access to the full catalog for
Yeah.
to see the supplements that I take. So working back closer to the workout, so recovery, what do you suggest people take during a run? Now, during a run, for training runs, sometimes people will carry a bottle, or they're
Hmm.
going to have something that they need to replace themselves if they're running a workout of maybe more than 6 to 10 miles. I usually say an hour. That's my number. If I'm
Yeah.
running more than an hour, then I'm going to have some kind of nutrition
Yeah.
on my body. So, what kind of things would you like to see
Well,
people use?
let me backtrack just a little bit.
Sure.
The more consistent you are with your training and ASAP post workout refueling, your body rewards you. It's like, Scott, Steve, Sam, if you are going to keep doing this to me, I'm going to be better prepared. So as the body adapts to the stress it puts on your training, it says, I got to learn how to store more fuel in the muscle cells, or else I'm just going to be behind the 8 ball all the time. We don't want that.
Yeah.
So the body says, if you will simply give me some good quality carbs, a little protein as well, I'm going to learn how to store more minutes of fuel in the muscle cells. It takes some time, but eventually I'm going to have about 60 to 90 minutes worth of fuel in the muscles. And that's really what carbo loading is. It's refilling your body with fuel right away after all your workouts leading up to an event. And so, we can start exercise with a nice advantage, and it's so easy to get. You train, you put fuel back in your body. Now you've got this nice reservoir of fuel ready to serve you. And so, yeah, when you mention, an hour or longer, you could do these shorter workouts on basically water, if anything.
Mhm.
Why? Because you have 60 plus minutes of fuel tucked away in the muscles. It took you a few weeks to get that and a few gallons of Recoverite, but it's there ready to serve you. So anything up to about 3 hours, carbohydrates only, 3.5 hours. You could do carbohydrates only. We found that there's two types of people. People are either drink drinkers or they're water drinkers. Drink drinkers, or I'm a water drinker, meaning I love products like Heed, our sports drink. Outstanding product. And I use it. But given the choice, I don't really want to drink a lot of volume of flavored liquid hour after hour. I'm a water drinker. So I need to get my calories in a much more compact form. So I will use Hammer Gel as my calorie source. That's my fuel. That's the gasoline. And water will take care of my hydration needs. I will also need an electrolyte supplement, so I use one of the many Endurolites products that we sell. I've been using the original Endurolites product for longer than I can remember. I've never had any cramping issues,
Mhm.
knock on wood.
Yeah.
But, so that's me. I'm a water drinker. I'm going to drink water for hydration. I'm going to use Hammer Gel as my energy source, my gasoline, and electrolytes. That's going to be like the motor oil. It's not going to be directly involved in energy production, but it's going to make sure that my muscle contractions are smooth and rhythmic. It's going to make sure that a lot of internal bodily functions are working properly. It's going to help prevent unwanted things like cramping. And if you've ever been in a full-fledged cramp, I've seen people that have been, and I can tell you, brother, it's nowhere you want to be. It's a very, very painful and inhospitable place,
Mhm.
and we want to avoid that. So I use hammer gel and Duralites, and I drink water. Conversely, people can kind of kill a couple of birds at least with one stone by using our drink mix Heed. That has the calories you need. The fluid you mix it in obviously is going to take care of your hydration needs, and it will take care of at least some, if not all, of your electrolyte needs. There's a built-in electrolyte formula in there. For a larger guy like me, I can get by with a scoop and a half, maybe not quite 2 scoops. That's all the calories I need, but it's not quite enough electrolytes. So, I'm a 190, 200-pound guy. I'm going to need another capsule or maybe two of Enduralites to top that off. But that's really what we want. We want to just anything up to about 3.5 hours. You could probably push it out to 4 hours in a run. Carbs only will cut it. And either hammer gel and water or Heed mixed in water. Those are
Okay.
two great options.
Okay.
What we want to avoid is the refined sugar.
Yeah.
And we could have a whole 2-hour podcast on that. And I won't delve into it very much at all, but you will be served better by avoiding fuels that end in OSE, glucose, sucrose, fructose. Yeah, there's been a lot of studies on the supposed benefits of adding fructose to an energy fuel. I've read all the studies. They go back for years. The researcher that did those studies, world class, highly respected. His studies were absolutely pristine. The results are indisputable. These athletes were able to produce more energy on a permanent basis using a fuel that contained a blend of carbohydrates, including fructose. But here's the catch, and no one ever looks at this. The rate of exertion in every one of those studies is so slow that you might as well be walking your marathon. You might as
Well,
well be coasting your bike. You can digest anything at such a low intensity. But when you start ratcheting up that intensity, guess what? Digestive system functioning starts taking a backseat to a bunch of other things. You can digest more calories from complex carbohydrates, the maltodextrin that we use in our fuel. You can digest 3 times more calories from maltodextrin than you can from any simple sugar, glucose, sucrose, fructose, dextrose, galactose, any of the OSEO sugars, whether alone or in combination. And so if I can give my body the maximum of calories that it can assimilate, it will eliminate digestive issues, problems. And most of the time when I hear from athletes, they're either taking in too many calories or they're consuming fuels that have these simple sugars in them. And I'm just telling athletes, avoid the OSEs, avoid the
okay.
OSEs.
Got it. Thank
That's
you.
good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. They sneak them in. You have to read those and
Read the labels. And by the way, cane sugar is still sucrose. Honey is still loaded with sucrose and fructose. In fact, basically it's fructose and sucrose. So
Okay.
Interesting. Uh, Recently, some of your products have garnered the label of organic. How important is organic in the nature of taking some of these supplements and replacement energy sources?
I don't think it's as important. Um, when we test our products like the maltodextrin, um, that we now use a tapioca or a cassava root maltodextrin, and by the time it goes from, and we also still use a corn derived maltodextrin. Now, by the time it goes from source material, corn or cassava root, and it's processed to the end result, which is the carbohydrate source, the DNA of the plant has been destroyed. And so too have all the allergens and, any kind, and we have it all tested. Every case, 0 parts per billion in terms of uh, pesticides, herbicides, GMO residues.
Hmm.
One of the reasons we switched over to a tapioca, uh, cassava root maltodextrin, there's a couple of kind of neat benefits, but one of them is cassava root is naturally GMO free. So even though our corn derived one never showed anything, it was pristine. It's zero parts per billion. We just don't have to go through that hassle with tapioca. So
Yeah.
when you're dealing with certain things, organic, I think it's more important in the solid foods than it is in a single entity like a starch like carbohydrate, the maltodextrin.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Some people do look for that, and
Well,
that's
and we
something.
do make a vegetarian, vegan friendly recoverite and protein, and they are all organic sourced plants.
No.
Absolutely. So the
Yeah.
protein source in the organic vegan protein, organic vegan recoverite, all of those plant source proteins are 100% organic.
Yeah. And like you said, you test everything,
Oh,
and
you
and
can't get away with anything anymore.
right. I mean, you're a, you're a company
And
that
not that we ever did, but I'll tell you what, there's a whole slew of businesses, I call them here today, gone tomorrow businesses that didn't follow that practice. And, I know a lot of them, but you won't be around for 38 years like we are and still growing if you shortchange the quality of your product. Never,
yeah.
never going to happen.
Well, it shows, and you guys have been around this long, so it's a definite, a cornerstone of nutrition.
Well, and like a lot of companies, during the pandemic and afterwards, there were some shortages in raw materials. And, that of course led us to have some temporary to short to long term outages on some of our products simply because the quality of the raw materials that we were being offered, they didn't even come close to what we needed and required. I mean, the amount of testing that has to be done by law is remarkable and it's intensive, and we go above and beyond that. We have our products tested before they get in the door of our manufacturer. Once they're inside, they get tested again throughout several phases of the encapsulation product process for supplements, or the blending if it's a fuel. All of our retains are tested. You know, all of this amount of testing, and so we absolutely have to start with pristine materials or they're rejected right off the bat. They never get in the door. But even when they are tested and proven to be pure, we still test them. And all of our facilities are good manufacturing practices, GMP certified facilities. They are also banned substance free facilities. So there's cross contamination is not even a possibility. So when you buy a fuel from us, a supplement from us, it's pure. It's as clean as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very trustworthy. Absolutely. I've never had that concern after I've seen what I've learned from talking to you guys.
And when we talk about what we're putting in our bodies during exercise, if you put lousy gas in the gas tank, your car is going to run like crap. And the same is true with fuel. If you cut corners on the fuel that you're putting in your body, it's going to come back as poor than wanted, desired athletic performance, or you're just going to get flat out sick.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why people keep coming back. You have many repeat customers. Not many people just try it and go on to something else, because if they give it a chance, it works. They know it's safe, and they're going to continue using it.
And one of the other things that I think is unique and that I really love about Hammer is our philosophy on fueling. There's a fad now that's getting rebooted from a long time ago, and it's just driving me nuts. Companies are now promoting more calories. It's like jam down as many calories as you can. And some apparently there's some research, I haven't seen it, but there's more hearsay that a lot of athletes and professional athletics are getting better results because they're consuming you know 400, 500 calories an hour. I'll tell you what, I'm 200 pounds. I can't even, at the most, I can get about 250 to 280 in. I found I do better than that. My point is that we cannot replace what we're losing, whether it's calories, fluids, or electrolytes, in amounts that come anywhere near what we're losing. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could? If we could replace all the calories, all the fluids, all the electrolytes, all the enzymes, all the coenzymes that we're losing during exercise on an equal basis, X out with X back in, theoretically, we'd never get tired.
You'd never be
But
tired. You'd never be fatigued.
yeah, but the body's not designed that way. It
Yeah.
will always lag behind in its ability to replace what it's losing. Most of the time, we can replace maybe 25, 30% of what we're losing.
Interesting.
And when it comes to calories, people are like, well, if you're saying I'm burning 600 calories and I can only replace maybe 150 to 200, how do I just not flat out bonk out there and die? Well, we've got a lot of calories from body fat stores. I don't care how lean you are, we've got plenty of calories from body fat stores. And we start burning fat right from the get-go. And we don't have to train our bodies to burn fat. It's a natural thing that we're born with. It's a survival mechanism. But once you get into that second hour and beyond, 2/3 of your energy is going to naturally be fulfilled from the vast amount of calories that we have from fat stores. Now, you want to throw a monkey wrench in that process. Yeah, jam down a bunch of extra calories. See how that works for you. Not only are you going to get sick to your stomach and be on the side of the road, throwing up or something else, your body's going to say, look, man, I had thousands of calories from fat stores that I was willing to donate to the cause. But I can see you're going to try and do it all on your own. I can't help you anymore. You've just shut down your fat as fuel mechanism. So one of the things I like about Hammer is our fueling philosophy. What is the least amount of
Right.
calories I need to consume to keep my body doing what I want it to do hour after hour after hour? Not what's the most I can jam down before I start getting sick, but what's the least amount? And when I fuel that way, I eliminate stomach issues, stomach distress potential completely. And I also give myself the flexibility to say, you know what? I'm feeling a little lethargic. I probably could use a few more calories. A little hammer gel here, down the hatch it goes. Problem solved. Compare that to the guy that's, jacked down too many calories right from the get go, and his stomach is starting to turn south, which it will, and his day is either going to come to an end or it's going to be a long and very unpleasant day. It's always easier to fix a slightly not enough problem. Oh, I'm running a little low on calories, feeling a little dip in my energy. I could use a few more calories. That problem can be easily fixed. A much harder problem to fix, if it can be fixed at all, is oh, I think I've taken in too many calories. My stomach is starting to tie up in knots. I'm starting to cramp up because fluids and electrolytes are being diverted away from the working muscles just to try and digest this excess. Man, that's a long day. And that's a hard hole to dig yourself out of if you can at all. And that's one of the things. I mean, if all we were about was selling products, we could sell a ton of products telling people, yeah, just use 700 calories of this fuel. But we're not. We're telling them use the least amount. What we have found, and without delving into a lot of sciencey stuff, what we have found is that most athletes, at least as a starting point, and I learned this too, and it works perfectly for me, a calorie per pound of body weight per hour for a lot of people, most people, that works perfectly. At and it's a good starting point. You know, you will find that oftentimes you need less, maybe you need a little more, but that's a really good starting point. During exercise, I want to consume right around a calorie per pound of body weight. And I can be flexible with that. I guarantee you, if you do that, you probably will never have any stomach issues that you'll always get from too much.
Great formula.
Very.
It's a philosophy that works.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody pretty much knows what they weigh, and the math is easy there, right? So you can do that in your head while you're running. I don't like. It's not like converting miles to kilometers. How far did I just? All right.
You know, when I did seminars in Australia and New Zealand, I actually had to say, look, you know, I should really know. And I'm sorry for going on a tangent here, but it's funny because
You're good.
I'm like, I'm like, you know, you guys, I really should know the metric system. At the time, I was married to an Aussie woman, and you know, I started getting it, but I was just like, I got to look at my cheat sheet. And I'm sorry, I should really know this, but I'm just a dumb Yank, and I'm still on the imperial system. So I hear you when you're converting things. And you know what else is kind of harsh now is that a lot of nutrients have changed in how they're standardized. For example, um, vitamin D and vitamin E were always known as international units. How many IUs of vitamin D are you taking a day? Now it's in milligrams or micrograms, or you know, folate is different. It's a challenge to keep up with it, but that's what keeps things interesting here too.
Yeah.
So
It does.
So I want to ask you about something that I'm not sure we didn't talk about this earlier, but have you heard of the fad that I've been reading about of a, and I'm even not even, I guess it's a product or um, it's called ketones.
I've heard of it.
yeah,
People are
I'm
talking about ketones while they're for during
I'm I'm not I'm really well versed with the ketogenic diet. I'm not a big fan of it. We have some great articles on our website by Dr. Bain French, who is a genius as far as I'm concerned. Look up his articles on our website about the ketogenic diet. All I'm going to say is, you know, I don't think it's wise to avoid carbohydrates during exercise. You know, that old saying, fat burns in a carbohydrate flame, is true. You can't burn fat without the presence of carbohydrates. If you want to deviate from that in your diet, I mean, you're an experiment of one. I've tried it. I don't care for it. There's a lot of research that says, not a lot, but there's some research that says it's not a healthy long-term diet. You know, there's just, I mean, you've just got to be well educated on that to make a decision on what to do in terms of your diet or using a ketone product during exercise. All I'm going to say is during exercise and immediately after is not the time to sacrifice carbohydrates.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah,
You can't.
I've seen mixed results where people say it might help me for a little bit, but the long term benefits are
Yeah,
destroying.
it's very. I wrote an article about it, and Dr. French wrote another article about it, and then we came to a meeting of the minds, and we came to a nice, you know, a happy medium about it. I think there's some benefits to it. I think short term, perhaps beneficial. Long term, I'm not sold on it. I don't think. You know, I think, to be honest with you, uh, out of all the diets, and I'm not a big fan of dieting. You know, in the strictest sense of the word, I'm not going to restrict my body of the food it needs, you know, in the effort to lose weight. Because, you know, as you know, first thing to go is water weight, then muscle tissue. Fat hangs on like for dear life. You know,
Mhm.
I say let your training be your diet.
Right.
You know, let the calories you're burning be the diet. You
Absolutely.
know, cut out some of the junk, you know, your junk foods. Cut out eating late night. Make sure you're getting enough fiber. Drink enough water. Hey, take your body weight, divide it in half or a little more. Take your body weight and multiply it by zero point 0.6. That's how much water you should be drinking a day in addition to what you're consuming during exercise. So, you know, a 180-pound guy, he needs somewhere between 90 and 110-ish fluid ounces of water a day. Coffee and tea count. Sadly, beer and wine don't. But when you stay optimally hydrated, that too will help you lose weight. And by the way, when your body is optimally hydrated, well, everything works better.
It,
Everything,
Right.
So that's another thing that people need to, and I have to have a water bottle with me because I've notoriously been dehydrated for a long, long time. And it wasn't until I really addressed that and said, Steve, you really need over 100 ounces of water every day. I don't want to go gangbusters on the other end and start, drinking till I'm, water intoxicated. That's not a good place to go to either. People have died from, excessive hydration,
Yeah.
but we want to be optimally hydrated. And, we talk about losing weight and maintaining a good weight. Stay hydrated. Take your body weight, multiply it by zero point 0.5. Same thing as dividing it in half. Body weight in pounds times 0.5 to 0.6. That's how much water or fluids, mainly water, that you should be drinking on a daily basis in addition to what you're drinking during exercise.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
yep.
Yep.
It,
And
never ending.
the only update on that would be I try to get that in an hour before bedtime
Mhm.
because otherwise, in that 8 hours you're sleeping or so, you're getting up.
Yeah.
Seems to me. So
That's why they make
but-
plastic sheets, Scott.
oh my God.
Are we going to go there? No. No. Hydration is really important. During exercise, I still laugh about this. The old position from one resource says optimal hydration is somewhere between 20 and I think it was like 40 and a half ounces per hour. Okay, 20 to 40.5. That's a big umbrella, man. I mean, when you look at it, it's kind of like the weatherman saying, hey, tomorrow it's going to be anywhere from 65 to 98. I mean, it's such a wide, I mean, who couldn't be, who can't fit under that? But
Yeah.
proper hydration requires less than that. When we start flirting with, 33, 34 ounces, a liter of fluid an hour, and more, then we start flirting with water intoxication. That's out of all the things that you can do to really mess things up, drink too much and you'll end up straight in the hospital with hyponatremia. 16 to 26 ounces per hour, somewhere in that range. Perfect. Good to go.
Yeah, I was going to say if you drink that much, you're either running to the bathroom or you're running to a tree.
Or you're running to the hospital because that low blood sodium is a serious issue.
Yeah,
And people took that hydrate or die to an extreme, and they drank so much they did die.
Mhm.
They did.
they drown them.
Don't go there. Again, what's the least amount that we need to keep things going the way we want them to keep our body operating smoothly, efficiently? We can always take in more if more is needed. But once that excess is down the hatch, boy, if it's coming out, it's not coming out the way you want it to. Believe me.
Yep. Yeah, hydration, like you said, is critical, especially where Sam lives is very hot. So Sam runs with a water bottle, and sometimes he has to run before the sun.
Oh,
gets up.
especially when you're talking 90 to 100% humidity.
Yeah.
It's very
I've ridden my
windy.
bike in that. During the Race Across America, I rode through the Deep South. And of course, RAM, Race Across America, is always held in the middle of summer. Probably because that's the only time when you're not going to get, a lot of snowstorms or tornadoes or hurricanes. All things being equal, it's probably
Yeah.
the best time to ride a bike across the country. That said, I've been through the Deep South, and it was I mean, I was miserable. I've never been in a place where my sweat felt like someone was pouring hot oil all over my skin.
That's the way
And I
it's all
also,
the time here.
and I would laugh. My dad was always on my support crew, and we'd be going through towns. I'm like, Dad, where is everybody? It's Saturday. No one's outside. He's like, well, think about it, Steve. It's like almost 100 degrees and 90 something percent humidity. everyone's at the pool or they're, in their air conditioned building or whatever. We're the only ones dumb enough to be out here on a bicycle. So,
Yeah, everything has to
yeah.
happen very early in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Florida. I mean, right now the humidity is already 85 to 90% in Florida right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, get it done early.
Yes.
If you're out there, get it done early. So we've been talking for a while, Steve. So as you said early on, that you have so much knowledge that we'd love to have you come back and get into a little bit more details about, maybe planning out a race day nutrition.
Absolutely.
Um,
I'm sorry. You could probably hear my phone ringing.
Yeah. You need to get.
We're shorthanded today, and the phone keeps ringing, and I finally good. Here we go. Sorry about that, guys.
It's like a telethon. People are calling in with their places.
Yeah,
Thank you.
a few staffers got early spring break, so.
Yeah. I say if we were live, it could be people calling in to place orders, but they haven't heard this yet. So this is the past. If you're listening to this, this happened some time ago.
Let me talk real quickly on a subject that we could talk for a long time, and it's about sodium. People always say salt. We were talking about hydration, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I really don't like are sweat tests. Some interesting information to be gleaned from them, but basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically a sweat test. They put you on a bike or a treadmill for an hour, pretty close conditions, and you're sweating, and they gather your sweat after, during, and after an hour's worth of exercise, if that long, and they analyze it. Wow, look at how much fluid you lost. Look at how much sodium you lost. You got to replace that because it's going to continue hour after hour after hour. No, it doesn't. We don't give our bodies credit for knowing how to take care of themselves. When we start exercise, we start with a massive amount of sodium already in our bodily tissues. We're really good at storing sodium. And when we start exercise, yes, we do lose a lot of sodium during that first hour or so. But unlike what the sweat test suggests, those losses will not continue at the same rate hour after hour after hour. We have some wonderful, efficient, very complex mechanisms that are built into our bodies, that we're born with, that are there to protect us. And one of them involves a couple of hormones, one of which is responsible for, in layman's terms, monitoring sodium levels in the blood. When it senses that its losses are starting to be a little great, which they will be during the first hour or so of exercise, it orchestrates a very complex set of mechanisms that recirculate sodium back into the system via the kidneys. Now, it can't do this forever. We do need to take in some salt along with all the other minerals, calcium, magnesium, potassium, chloride. We got to take those in as well. They all work together in allowing the body to perform optimally during exercise. But when we take in too much sodium, we actually are doing more harm than good, because when the body senses it's getting too much sodium, it will stop recirculating its existing stores of sodium back into the system, and it will actually throw out more sodium in sweat and in urine. And then another hormone kicks in, the antidiuretic hormone, vasopressin. It kicks in, and that causes the body to start retaining fluids. So if you see someone where from their wrists down to their fingers, their calves down to their toes, even their face is swelled up a bit like a water balloon, they've been consuming too much sodium during exercise. And when people say, I'm a real heavy sweater, well, some salt stains are to be expected as sweat dries on skin. Sam, I know you don't see this because your skin never dries. It's always hot in that humidity.
Yes.
It's always, but if you're in a semi-arid condition, yeah, you're going to see salt stains on your clothing. That's going to happen. But if you see so much salt that you're like, in biblical terms, Lot's wife, the pillar of salt. If you look like a pillar of salt, I mean, if you're caked in sodium, that's not your body saying, I need more. It's your body saying, I'm getting rid of the excess. So the point is that we have to take in, we've got to quit looking at loss rates. How many calories are we burning? What did my sweat test say on how much fluid or salt I'm losing? Those are all interesting figures, but they really don't have much to do with what our body can accommodate in return from our fueling. And so when it comes to sodium, it needs to be in a blend with all the other minerals. They all work together. And for most people, a salt intake somewhere in the realm, and everyone's going to be different, but somewhere in the realm of 100 milligrams of salt, which is 60 milligrams chloride, 40 milligrams of sodium per 100 milligrams, anywhere from 100 to 600 milligrams of salt will easily uh, provide the amount of sodium you need without disrupting your body's normal mechanisms that are there to recirculate and thus conserve its stores of sodium. And again, remember, we start with thousands of milligrams of sodium already in our body. We will lose a lot at the onset of exercise, but the body recognizes this. Our body is a wonderfully designed, complex, efficient, got all these great mechanisms that were built in, designed to take care of us. They're survival mechanisms. When we start exercising, all of these survival mechanisms kick in, and the body's saying, I know what to do. Give me a little helping hand. Then get out of my way. If you do too much, you're gonna stop the show's gonna stop. The process will end, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Awesome to know that salt is not sweating is going to happen, and when you exercise, but replacing with the proper hydration as well as the other products that we talked about earlier are key to recovery.
Yeah, and again, you know, as I've said a few times, if we could replace everything we're losing in equal or even near equal amounts, X out with X or near X back in, we could theoretically at least continue to go on and on and on. But
Like
we
an electric car.
can't. The goal of fueling is to postpone fatigue for as long as possible and to provide the body with enough calories, fluids, and electrolytes that cooperate with its built in mechanisms. And it's always a lot less than we think it is.
Okay, so yep, less is more is probably a key message that we've heard this
Less
episode.
is best.
Less is best. That even rhymes better than less is more.
Like they always told us in the military, do more with less.
There you go.
Excellent.
That's a good battle cry, my friend.
All right. We certainly have not exhausted this topic, Steve.
Not
So
at all.
we're going to want to talk to you again. I hope we'll see how people react to this
Yeah, I'm
episode. I'm sure.
always happy. Always happy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Steve,
we
I will
appreciate
see you at the booth in Whitefish in May.
Sounds good. Well, if you're there before the race, and
I will be.
come on into the building, come and say hi to us. All we want to see you.
I got a son like Scott. Mine lives in Great Falls, but yeah,
Yeah.
That's a little hoof away from here, but
Yeah.
not too bad.
Yeah,
It's
that's
better,
good.
easier to get you than Florida.
oh, it is.
coming here from Florida. No, it's. I always have fun with you guys. It's always great.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
again, my goal is not to sell stuff. When I work at expos, when I do seminars, I got to be honest with you, I don't even know how much any of our products cost. I can tell you anything you want to know about anything in them and how best to use them. That's what I want to do. I want to help athletes, you know, and when they find that they're using the right products in the right amounts, stuff sells itself. They don't need me as a salesman,
Right.
and I don't want to be. I want to be there to help athletes. I made a lot of mistakes when I first started doing my chosen sport of ultra cycling, in the mid to late 80s. I mean, we didn't have any fueling protocols. In fact, the idea back then was, excuse me, you're going to be riding 3,000 miles across the country on very little sleep. there's no timeouts. You sleep as much or as little as you can, as necessary. But the idea was, well, you're going to be burning thousands of calories a day. Just eat, 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 eat. Just continue to eat. And that's what my crew did. And that's what I told her to do. Just make me eat. Even when I'm going to barf, just make me eat. And they did. And, well, we're going through the desert. You might as well just drink like a fish. Okay, just drink, 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 drink. No one had any limits or set amounts. And then take salt tablets. Take salt tablets. Take salt. Here's a big salty food thing. I was uncomfortable 99% of the time. I mean, literally, I was uncomfortable most of the time. I just thought, well, this is just the way it is in endurance athletics. You're an endurance athlete, it equals misery. Doesn't have to be that way. But I'll tell you, when I got to the finish line, my belly was so distended from my excess intake of calories, fluids, and salt. I mean, I think I gained more weight than when I started. And after 3,000 miles on a bike, pretty remarkable, but I looked hideous. And so I learned the hard way. And this is what I want to help athletes do. This is my genuine desire. I don't have any other, MO. I want to help athletes. Don't make the same mistakes I did. In fact, I did one time where I ended up in the hospital. Less than 200 miles into a race across America, I had botched my fueling so badly that I ended up in a hospital. And the doctor was like, man, you are dang lucky. And I mean, really lucky. I had hyponatremia so bad, too much fluid, not enough electrolytes. My race was over in less than 12 hours.
Wow.
3,000 miles. Now I can laugh about it. Hey, I did the world's most expensive double century, but back then there was no laughing matter. And I don't want people to have to go through that. So
Yeah.
that's my job. That's
Okay.
why I'm here.
We appreciate you, and we appreciate your time today. Um,
Yes, thank you,
and
Steve.
Oh, glad to be here. Thanks, you guys.
so I need to put another quarter in the toll, so in the meter. I'm just kidding. So we'll wrap it up today. We'll keep this under an hour, and but we'll have you back, and people know how to reach you. You're just sborn at Hammer Nutrition.
Yep.
I
S
believe.
B as in boy, ORN at Hammer Nutrition. All lowercase, no spaces, dashes, nothing like that.
Yeah, follow the Instagram page or handle. They put out a lot of information on Instagram. Get on the mailing list and sign up for the newsletter.
Yes,
And,
definitely.
and try a product. I would say the easiest access product would probably be gels and heat to get started. I think. 'Cause
Recoverite's a great product, man.
Recoverite.
Love that product.
Well,
Yeah,
Scott sent me a pouch of it.
Yeah, I did. I sent him some Recoverite. Absolutely. I had it earlier today, so I did a workout today, and I came home,
We'll
took
try
a shower, came home,
tomorrow. I got a
and had
16-mile run
Recoverite.
tomorrow, so we'll pop that after post run.
Good job.
Excellent. And the sooner you do it, the better.
Yes, I don't wait more than 10 minutes after I get done.
Yeah. The late great Ed Burke, who basically wrote the book on recovery, he just said the sooner you can do it, the better. There's a lot of science behind that quote, but it is true. The minute you finish exercise is when the iron is at its hottest in terms of recovery.
Right.
Take care of it. Do
That's
it.
why that's why I take the Recoverite in a baggie or a little pouch, and I take it at the gym. If I'm running at the gym, I don't wait to shower and come home because that's a half hour, maybe 45
Yeah.
minutes later.
Just put it in your water bottle, dry. Go to the drinking fountain when you're done or whatever. Add some water, shake it up, drink it down. You're done.
Yeah, that's another tip, right? I think you recommend that you don't mix it and leave it sit around for a while, right? Make it
Yeah.
set before you take it.
The other products like Heed and Perpetuum, they're fine. But Recoverite is actually, you will get the most benefits out of it if you drink it as soon as possible after you mix it. It's not the kind of thing that you want to mix it up a day in advance and stick it in the fridge. You could do that with any of the other fuels, but Recoverite, make it shortly before you're going to drink it for the best results.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a tip I learned out later. But yeah, don't. I used to do that. Make it at home and bring it with me. But now I I would bring the powder.
And it's not harmful to do that, but you're just not getting the full value out of the
Right.
product.
Right. Okay. Good reminder. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you have any questions, you do know how to reach us. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode.
I'll see you in May, Steve.
Sounds good. Good to talk with you, Sam.
Good talking
As
to
always,
you.
Scott. Thank you, friends.